Hi there, music fans, and welcome to another one of my polls. And today I'd like to rank all the Beatles albums, the UK releases, from my least favourite to my absolute favourite. And yeah, I did this poll a couple of years ago, and but I found that some of the albums are rated higher. I don't listen to as much as some of the other ones. So I thought it's I'd do a new video and see how things have changed. And yeah, a couple of albums have been remastered as well, so might have influenced this poll as well because I've been loving listening to the new remastered versions of some of these albums. Um, and again, I've ranked them this time as well. Not the ones that I thought were the best Beatles albums, but the ones that I listened to the most. So that's what's inspired me to do this. These are the albums that I listen to the most, from my least favorite to my absolute favorite. Now there's 13 albums released, and as I said in the last poll, I don't have Yellow Submarine because I can't, I don't see it as a full Beatles album. I don't know whether even fans even include it in their polls. I'm not sure, but we'll just say that's number 13 anyway. But I still haven't got a copy of it. I have it on on vinyl, and I have it on cassette, but I've never actually got a CD copy of it. But I probably will pick one up at some stage because I do love Hey Bulldog and It's All Too Much and a couple of the other tracks that's on it. So I definitely will. But thanks to Spotify, you don't really need to have to own all the Beatles albums, but I'm just a fan that I have to have them all. But anyway, I go from 12 to 1. So number 12, this is going to shock a lot of people. Or I hope it doesn't upset too many people, but I have the White Album. Considered probably one of the best albums by the Beatles. Um, to me, it would have made a better single album. I know George Martin said that in the anthology. He said they could have made it a real good um album with that, just a single album instead of a double. There was and yeah, I tend to agree. There's some absolute classics I love, like Back in the USSR, Dear Prudence, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Blackbird's on here, Helter Skelter's on here, beautiful song that John wrote about his mother Julia. I love I Will as well, but there's not this is probably the only Beatles album that I have to skip tracks. When I'm going through all the tracks that I love by the Beatles, probably most of the ones that I really don't care for are on this album. Even though there's some absolute classics, so that's the only reason I don't listen to this album straight through. I think I've only ever listened to it about 10 times, I'd say, over the years, right from start to finish. I've only actually heard Revolution 9, I think, 3 times in my whole lifetime, and I think that's enough for me. But yeah, everybody hears music different, so that's it's number 12 for me, the White Album. I'm sure a lot of people have it number one, but that's just my opinion. Um, Number 11, I have With the Beatles. Yeah, I still love this album. I had it actually on in the car today. I love It Won't Be Long. I love All My Loving Is just an absolutely fantastic Paul track. Cover of Mr. Postman, cover of Chuck Berry's Roll Over Beethoven. Absolutely fantastic album. Yeah, all these albums, even the ones I rate the worst, are absolutely fantastic albums. I still love them. Just some of them I love more than others. It was to pick my favorite track on the album, I'd pick All My Love. If I was to pick my least favorite track on the album, I'd probably go with Hold Me Tight. I've never been mad about that track. So at number 10, I have Beatles for Sale. Yeah, another great album. Yeah, some classics on here. No Reply, I'm a Loser, Babies in Black, Rock and Roll Music, Chuck Berry cover. Kansas City, love that Little Richard cover by Paul. 8 Days a Week is on here. Words of Love, the Buddy Holly, one of my favorite Ringo songs. Yeah, Honey Don't is cover of Carl Perkins. Um, but I think my favorite track on this album is Every Little Thing. I absolutely love that track. And if I was to pick my least favorite, I would probably go with Mr. Moonlight. I take or leave it. So number 9, I have one that John Lennon absolutely loved. He always said he wasn't crazy about the later albums. He criticised even Sergeant Pepper. He didn't like Sergeant Pepper. He criticised the White Album. He criticised Let It Be. But he always had good things to say about this album, and it's Magic and Mystery Tour. Terrible movie. Great soundtrack. Absolutely love this album as well. I'm the Walrus is on here. Um, Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields is on here, Penny Lane is on here, All You Need Is Love is on here. Yeah, it's a really great album. So I have that at number 9. So number 8, I have the debut album, Please Please Me. And I know a lot of fans rate this very lowly, but I absolutely love this album. I had this on yesterday actually in the car, and I love this album. And when I was trying to figure out which was my favorite track, well, I saw her standing there as my favorite track, but I was trying to figure out what my least favorite track was. It was probably the most difficult I had because I like all the songs on the album. I couldn't really pick one that I really dislike, but if I was forced to pick one, I'd probably go with Misery maybe or Chains. I still love them two tracks as well. So yeah, so number 8, Please Please Me. Number 7, I have the soundtrack to Help. Yeah, absolutely love this again. Filled, packed with classics. Helped, the title track. Ticket to Ride is on it. Yesterday is on this album. One of the greatest songs ever written, in my opinion. I Just Seen Her Face. Absolutely love that track. Yeah, I Need You, George Harrison. Fantastic. The Night Before, I absolutely love that track. You've Got to Hide Your Love Away. You're Gonna Lose That Girl. Just an absolutely fantastic album this is. Forced to pick my favourite track, I'd have to go with Yesterday, because I think it's one of the greatest songs, as I said, of all time. My least favourite track is the last song on the album, Dizzy Miss Lizzy, the cover of Larry Williams, but I've never cared too much for that. I've never really liked that as a rock and roll track. I love rock and roll music, and I never really cared for Dizzy Miss Lizzy. So, yeah, so at number 7, I have Help. Now, this one has gone up since my last poll, and it's probably thanks to the Disney Channel, because I absolutely love that documentary, and it's Let It Be. Yeah, just absolute. And when I done a poll of my top 10 favorite Beatles songs, and I kind of surprised myself because 3 of my favorite Beatles songs of all time are on this album. The Long and Winding Road, Get Back, and Let It Be. 3 of my absolute favourite Beatles songs of all time are on this album. So this album has gone way up since the last time I did a poll, and it's number 6. So number 5, I have another soundtrack, and it's the soundtrack to A Hard Day's Night. Yeah, absolutely love this album as well. This is one I'm going to throw in the car tomorrow, actually. Really excited to hear this album again. I'm going to listen to this on the way to work and on the way home as well. Absolutely love this album. Should Have Known Better is just a classic. I absolutely love that track. What else is on it? Can't Buy Me Love, Things We Said Today, You Can't Do That, I'll Be Back, Hard Day's Night, the title track. I think if it was to pick my favourite track on the whole album, I would pick And I Love Her, the Paul classic. And if I was to pick my least favourite, I would probably go with I'm Happy Just to Dance With You. Not a great song they gave. It's okay, but they gave it to George, and neither of them wanted to sing it themselves, so they gave it to George to sing. I'm Happy Just to Dance With You. Yeah, it's a nice track. I definitely won't be skipping it when I listen to the CD, but yeah, that's my least favorite. So that's number 5. Hard Day's Night. So number 4, one of the greatest albums ever made, in my opinion, and I'm sure millions of other people's opinion as well. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, absolute classic album. Absolutely love this album. Yeah, I listened to this album a couple of days ago, and yeah, absolutely love it. Start to finish, I can get why John Lennon didn't really care for this album, because he hasn't got too much on it. He has what has he got on it? Lucy in the Sky. Day in the Life, of course. Benefit of Mr. Kite. that's pretty much all he has on the album. And the rest of the album is pretty much dominated by Paul. Pretty much, even with a little help from my friends, everybody knows Paul wrote that song, really. Um, yeah, but Day in the Life, just an absolute classic track. That has to be my favorite song on the album. I love She's Leaving Home as well. I can't leave that one out. But my least favorite, if I was forced to pick one, it's very hard to pick my least. Probably Good Morning, Good Morning. I actually prefer the outtake of it that's on the bonus CD of this. I thought it was much better. Of Good Morning, Good Morning. I think it's the whole song, but they don't sing Good Morning, Good Morning. But absolutely fantastic album, and I have it at number 4. So my number 3, I remember, was a number 2 the last time, and it's Revolver, and it's a lot of people's favorite album as well. I think these top 4, I think are everybody has picked at least one of these as their favorite. I think anyway, most people anyway. I'm not going to say all people, but this is number 3 for me. Revolver, absolutely love it. Taxman, Eleanor Rigby, Here, There, and Everywhere. Good Day, Sunshine, For No One. Got to Get You Into My Life. Tomorrow Never Knows is on this album. Just an absolute classic album. You can't really fault it for anything. Just iconic album. My favorite track, Here, There, and Everywhere. My least favorite track. Oh, I've never been mad about Dr. Robert. So that's probably would be my least favorite. I loved Yellow Submarine, but yeah, I love that Yellow. So that was probably I would have probably picked that as my least favorite a while ago. But I love that track now. Dr. Robert. So that's my number 3. So number 2, which has gone up since the last time I did a poll, and it's the fantastic Abbey Road. Absolutely love this album, and yeah, from start to finish. There's a couple of tracks I didn't care for, up to a while ago. Stuff like Because and Sun King. Yeah, I Want You, She's So Heavy has just grown and grown on me. I absolutely love that track, start to finish now. That's used to be one years ago that I'd skip, but I never skip it now. I absolutely love this entire album now. And it's my number 2 album. So my number 1 Beatles album of all time, no surprise, is the fantastic Rubber Soul. And I do believe that it was George Harrison's favourite Beatles album as well. I could be wrong. I think he said that in the... Did he say that in the anthology? I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think he said this was one of his favourites anyway. And I absolutely love this album. Drive My Car, Nowhere Man, Norwegian Wood, You Won't See Me, The Word, Michelle, Girl, I'm Looking Through You, In My Life, If I Needed Someone, Think for Yourself, Run for Your Life. I absolutely love this album. The pick, my least favourite is very easy. It's What Goes On by Ringo. I've never been crazy about that track. It's the one song that I don't really care for on this album. Um, Apart from that song, I think this album is perfect. Well, it still is perfect because I wouldn't skip the Ringo song, but I think that's my least favourite on the album. Well, I know that's my least favourite on the album. And my favourite song on the entire album is by John Lennon, In My Life. Absolutely love it. So that's my top 12 or top 13 if you include Yellow Submarine. And it was just for fun. I know everybody hears music different, and so don't criticize me too much. Um, and that's just my opinions, and I'm sure you have your own order which way you like the Beatles albums, and I'm sure everybody would have the White Album higher than I would. But thanks to Spotify, you can kind of make up your own playlist now. And now I don't really want to do that too much of the Beatles albums because I love listening to Beatles albums in their entirety. But yeah, in the case of the White Album, there's a lot of songs I don't like and a lot of songs I absolutely love. So that's the only one I can take. The rest of the Beatles albums I can listen to start to finish. But I'm trying to excuse myself for putting the White Album last. But or second last to Yellow Submarine. But yeah, it's just my opinion. Everybody hears music different, and it was just for fun. So if you have any opinions, leave them in the section below. If not, thank you and bye.